Hi, I'm Chris Pack. I'm a producer engineer, and I'm here with RunDatBack.
Musa on the beat. Man down, chopper, man down. Sharks will maintain, been a team, we don't do handouts. You'll respect us, pay us when we got our hands out. Don't play with my money, shit ain't funny. Get to airing out, I spray them down.
So how are you doing today?
Oh man, can't complain. Beautiful day, living life. Kids are great, family's great,
Definitely. How many kids you have?
2 daughters.
Ooh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's when my life changed.
Yep, definitely.
I had to switch it up a little bit,
Man, I got a baby boy, and he definitely gives me a run for my money most of the time. So definitely like that. Are you from Washington, or did you move here?
Yeah, I was born in Tacoma, but I'm a military brat, so I moved around a little bit, Alabama, Germany, and then came back here.
Germany, how's that?
It was nice. It was different. Got to travel, because out there driving to a different country is like driving to like Oregon or something. So like I got to see, a bunch of different countries, try a bunch of different foods, see some castles and stuff. So that was
a castle.
Yeah.
That sounds nice. Cool. Did you was there like anything about Germany that you miss, or would you want to go back and live there?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to live there, but I was young. I was between 5 and 7, so I can't speak on it as an adult. But I just remember there was a lot of cool historical stuff there, from hundreds and hundreds of years ago versus, here besides Native Americans, we only have like a 200-something year history.
Yeah, so that's like kings and queens and stuff over there, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We saw dungeons, all kinds of stuff.
How did you, get started with music? Was it like, did you, try and start rapping first, or did you just get straight full force into producing and engineering?
Well, technically, I started playing trumpet and piano when I was around 5th or 6th grade.
Okay.
And then I started playing sports, and then one day I was when I was in college, I was walking down the dorms and I heard a beat playing from somebody's dorm. So I poked my head. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm making a beat." But I noticed that he was like poking around on a computer, like moving stuff around. I was like, "Hey, let me try that." And then that kind of started the beat part. But I always wanted to be a rapper, and so I started rapping, but I wasn't that good. And I noticed that people wanted to hang out with me because of my recording equipment, but not my rap skills. And so I, luckily I had enough self-evaluation skills or, self-awareness to realize that I was better at recording and producing than I was at rapping. So
that's dope, though.
Yeah.
That's dope. Was it like, did you have to work at it, or did you just pick it up instantly?
Well, it was kind of a slow process. I bought my first computer and my, my keyboards, and I started trying to make beats, and, I had Pro Tools, but I wasn't that good at it. And back then, YouTube wasn't out. So you couldn't just, watch a tutorial and figure out how to use that stuff. So I just got very lucky that a friend of mine recommended me to Shoreline's audio engineering program. And so I took their engineering and their production program, and that's kind of what launched my career into the professional realm.
So did you start out working with artists around this area? Were you working with kids that were at the college and stuff? Or?
Yeah, actually, before I went to college, I was working with a couple of cats that I grew up with in Tacoma, and we kind of had a rap group, and then shout out Street Congress,
Who's that? Who's Street Congress?
My boy Dwayne Barnes and ST. They're from Tacoma.
Okay.
And we started off, rapping and stuff, and then
you guys got music out?
We not that group. ST ended up doing an album like in what was it? 07-ish.
Okay.
But very limited copies out there.
Oh, yeah. So not on YouTube or anything?
Oh no.
Oh no. Do you have any music out anywhere?
My own music?
Yeah, like
no.
Oh, okay. But you got some somewhere, right?
Oh, it's in the stash.
It's in the stash. Okay.
It'll come out way later.
Post like retirement.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever want to share that, secretly we won't share it out. But we'd love to
it's horrible.
Old? Oh, you said
my stuff is horrible.
It's probably better than what I tried to record.
I don't know, man. My timing was pretty bad.
We might be on the same page there. Because I was just about to say I wasn't even on beat or anything. So. Oh man. So what was like the big break for you, or when did you get the opportunity to work with bigger artists?
My first big break. Let me see, which one was it? So I was at Robert Lang Studios. I don't know if you know anything about that, but that's kind of where a big portion of Seattle's grunge rock music scene came through. So Nirvana recorded their last album there. Foo Fighters, Soundgarden's been there. You name it, a bunch of heavyweight rock music was done out of there. And I had went there after Shoreline because it was right down the street, and we heard a lot of stories about it. So I was there, and I think my first big artist was Lazy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony. Shout out Scott McKinley, he brought them through. So I worked with Lazy Bone, and that was kind of my first experience. And then Wale came shortly right after that, and so those were kind of like my first two big artists that I had worked with.
That's wild. Wow. Lazy Bone, that's like... Yeah, I didn't grow, obviously, I don't know every Bone Thugs and Harmony song, but, my mom that's wild, I gotta tell her.
Well, for me, Bone was when I was, in junior high.
Yeah.
So, for me, I remember me and my assistant, as Lazy Bone's recording, we just looked at each other like we're hearing this through the microphone into my ears.
That's wild, man.
That was crazy because I grew up listening to these guys,
Do you still get starstruck when you work with people, or is it just kind of different per experience, or what?
Yeah, I don't really get starstruck anymore. A lot of it is because I'm older than these guys, and I wasn't really fans of these guys before I met them. Gotcha. Lazy Bone and Wale were people that I had admired before I met them. So that was kind of a oh my god type of moment. But then after a while, you get desensitized and you realize that celebrities are just regular human beings too, and so they technically. When you're in the studio, they don't want you to be starstruck. Oh, okay. They want you to treat them like regular people, because the studio is the one place that they want to come and they just wanted to create. They don't want people taking pictures with them. They don't want people asking them all kinds of questions. They just want to be a regular person, because when you're with them, when you see them out and about at shows and appearances and stuff, they're getting asked for signatures and photos. It's just constantly, and so they just want to be regular. So.
That's dope. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. I'm still working on that, because I know when I got a couple people, if I meet, I might pass out. I saw Kevin Hart crying when he met Michael Jackson. I know Kevin Hart. But that's cool. That's really cool. Did your involvement with music start heavily in Seattle? Did you get to know all these bigger artists? Through connections you made in Seattle, or was it primarily working, with that studio you mentioned, and just having, people come through there and then being introduced to other people, or how did that?
Combination of both. Robert Lang Studios, one of the benefits of working at a world-renowned studio like Robert Lang's is that the labels seek out those studios when their artists are coming into the city. Wow. So when I'm at Robert Lang's, we'll get calls. One time I was waiting for Waka Flocka, Lazy Bone called in, Redman came through, and they come there because of the studio. They weren't coming there for me. And then on the other side, I also had friends that were promoters and things like that also knew artists, and because I had built a relationship with them, they would also bring artists to me.
Oh, that's dope. Yeah. That's dope. So would you say it's more of obviously you have to have, engineers in there, but are the engineers the ones that, kind of put that idea together for a studio, or was it more of a, overhead thing where, maybe, a CEO stepped in and said, hey, this is going to be a hub for, artists to come, when they're in Seattle, and get work done. They can, turn to this studio, whether they're, here for a show or here for something else, they can get some work done. Was it, more of a musician kind of organized thing, or was it like an overhead type of thing?
In Seattle, just about every studio is independently owned, and the owner is typically a a former engineer or a musician. Besides, Clatter and Din is probably the only one that I can think of that was built up as people coming together and building a business so that they can attract higher level clients. But usually it's like, oh, and even Peter, he's a former drummer in a famous rock band. So, but usually you're only gonna find those bigger corporate type studios down in LA or Atlanta, or New York, or those kind of things.
Gotcha. And you said Peter, he was a drummer in a rock band?
Yeah.
Who's Peter, if you don't mind?
Peter Barnes is the owner of Clatter and Din.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
What's the name of his band? Oh man, he's gonna kill me. I don't remember the name of his band.
Is it a Seattle band?
I think they were based out of Seattle. Yeah, they were based out of Seattle.
Pretty big though.
Yeah, I mean, he did a couple of national tours and
wow.
yeah.
Wow. Is there any notable work or artists that you've worked with in this area that highlight your involvement with the Seattle music scene?
Yeah, I would say most recently JAYLOUD with Taj King Entertainment. They just signed a deal with Asylum Records.
Nice. I saw that.
Yeah, and so he's definitely making some moves. He's down in LA hanging out with big artists. He's
been working for like 2 years too. I seen JAYLOUD like not 2 years, but that's when I got into it. But he's been going hard for some years now.
Yeah, it's been about 2 years. Yeah.
Dope. Do you guys have any you guys have something out already or coming out soon?
We just dropped a mixtape, I would say like maybe 3 weeks ago, called Deep End. And then we're getting ready to drop another one here soon. We don't have a date yet, but yeah.
Other than music, what is what's your favorite thing to do in your spare time, or just something you do to relax?
It's either working out or playing Warzone.
What system though?
Xbox, unfortunately.
Why does everybody keep saying Xbox? And then unfortunately after, why is it?
I mean, when it comes to Warzone, the PC players, they have a distinct advantage.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. They have an advantage in every shooting game.
I just don't know if I can spend $2,000 on a gaming computer.
Gaming PC? I had to hop off Warzone because people are OP on there. I play a lot of Nuketown, but Warzone is just too much for me.
Yeah.
You have that same experience?
You're talking about multiplayer. So you're talking about, so like to me that's more ADD than Warzone. Cause like if you do shoot the ship, have you done that one?
Oh yeah.
That one. Man, shoot the ship. I played that. I'm like, these people shoot me. Like right when I spawn, I'm dead. I'm like, what?
You must have been playing on shipment, huh?
Yeah.
Shipment.
I'm like, yo, this is too much. At least with Warzone, it's like, okay, you drop in, you're gonna get some loot, you're gonna find your guns. Sometimes you don't even get into a battle till like 10 minutes into it, so I can do that, but
I don't think people know that shipment grind. That's that's like you turn a corner and you're shooting at somebody.
I mean, literally, you're spawning, getting blown up right when you spawn. It's like, bruh.
Is there any advice that you would like to give, or advice that you have to give to like developing artists in this area, or just musicians trying to follow their dream?
Yeah, invest in yourself. Whether you're an artist, engineer, producer, treat yourself like a business and study business, because a lot of what I see is artists or producers or whoever that want to, everybody wants to be a rock star, everybody wants to be rich and famous in this industry, but it seems like everybody wants the quick ticket. And what people don't realize is that to become successful, you have to invest in yourself. In what other industry can you say, oh, I want to be rich, but I don't want to spend any of my own money? If you want, and this is a high risk industry, it's a high risk, high reward industry. You're not guaranteed to succeed. You could spend $100,000 and you still won't succeed. And so, but the reward, if you do make it, is a really big reward. But how many industries can you get into and say, I don't want to spend any money, but make all this money? If you want to own a Subway restaurant, you're going to make your money, but guess what? You have to save up some money and you have to purchase the franchise, and then you're going to make your money. So treat your music career the same way. Figure out what is it you want to do, save up some money and spend it, because that's the only way it's going to work. Yeah. Trying to get by in this industry without spending money is going to lead you nowhere. You're going to hit a lot of closed doors.
It's funny you said that, because I don't know who it was.
Me personally, I stopped counting after 150. Yeah.
Jeez.
But it got to a point where I didn't have to invest anymore because I had done so much early on that the momentum now, all the jobs that come to me are word of mouth and, referrals.
That makes sense.
And to add to the investment part, sometimes it's not, getting an investment from somebody or, spending your last dollar or whatever. A lot of it is making sacrifices too. When you really break down, what you spend your money on, if you make certain sacrifices, then you can, when I say 150, that's spread out over, a long amount of time. So, over 10 years, that's really only $15,000 a year if you break it down, right? But I had to make certain sacrifices. I didn't go out. I didn't buy clothes. I didn't buy shoes, and when I did go out, I was barely drinking. Yeah, I barely, I didn't indulge in a lot of these things that the people my age were doing. They're taking vacations to Vegas and popping bottles and doing all this stuff. And I didn't do those because I was like, okay, I could either do that or I can buy a piece of studio equipment or I can pay for this or pay for marketing.
What drove that? Like, was it like, kind of last resort type thing, or was it just, like you just got hungry over that?
I was very fortunate when I was a personal trainer that one of my clients was a very successful investor. And I didn't know it for the first year that I was training him, but he had facilitated $1 billion pharmaceutical deals. He was owner of a bank in Chicago. He was big money, right? Yeah. And he's the one that really taught me business. And he's the reason why I think about things even though I'm in the music world, I think of it as a businessman versus as a musician. And I was able to apply a lot of those concepts to the music world. He took the emotion out of my decisions very early in my career. And that is one of the faults of most musicians, that they're emotional beings, which is why they're great at music. But that's also why they suck at business, because their heart's in it too much and they don't know how to take their heart away from it and be analytical about it.
You can't look at it that way.
Yeah.
You have to be thinking about the next step.
Yeah.
You have to be thinking about what this sets up and what you have to save.
What would you say is an artist choosing between a path of sign deal and choosing that, that grind route of being an independent artist?
It's all situational. It depends on where you're at in life and what you want out of it. The independent route is slower and it's a tougher road, but you make a bigger percentage of the money. And some of it comes down to the financial situation you're in. I mean, if you're living on the streets, you need to feed your family. Sometimes you might need to just take that deal because you need to get your family off the streets. And so I understand why some of these guys sign those deals. But I will say that a lot of these independent artists that look like they're independent aren't actually independent. They're actually signed to major deals, but the label tells them to act like they're independent because today's fans like to watch the growth of the artist.
Instead of seeing that as dictated by someone else.
Yeah.
What do you think this next wave of artists, this next powerful movement of artists, what do you think is going to be behind it? You think it's going to be that independentness, that come up, or is that all people care about nowadays?
This might be a little bit biased, but I think there's going to be a lot more depth to the music because it's been so auto-tuney, talking about Zans and Molly and shit, and that's cool. But I think along the lines of with, COVID, it kind of opened up a lot of people's eyes, and I think people want to hear, they want to hear substance now.
Yeah, they want the real stuff again.
Yeah. JAYLOUD, for instance, when he got signed, Dallas Martin, who's one of the biggest A&Rs in the industry, he even told him his story is what captured him, because he was living on the streets, and then he got found because he was singing in a parking lot of McDonald's as he was filling out his application to get a job.
JAYLOUD?
Yeah, the JAYLOUD, yeah.
That's dope.
And,
Yeah, that's cool.
because he had such a struggle, you can hear it in his music, and he's telling his story about, all these different things, and he's not just doing things for clout, and that's what separated him, when the A&Rs were looking at him, is that he had a real story to tell.
You think labels are really? You think they're gonna start going back to talent or?
I mean, at the end of the day, labels are a business and they have investors to worry about. Sure. So numbers are going to be very important. Sure. But it's you have to have numbers, but you also have to differentiate yourself from people, because as an A&R, you look at artists every day and it becomes monotonous. Everybody looks the same, everybody sounds the same, so you have to separate yourself somehow.
Is there anything else you wanted to add, closing remarks or anything?
Yeah, your recording and your production budget should be 20% of your overall budget.
Is that just like marketing and promo, or is that like music videos and stuff like that?
I would consider music videos part of the production costs.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Anything to create the project.
Gotcha.
Your marketing and budget should be 4 to 5 times that amount.
Yeah. Do you think artists should be making music videos with every song, or?
Not every song,
yeah.
But overwhelmingly, yes. Mm-hmm. More videos than not.
On the beat. Man down, chopper, man down. Sharks will maintain, been a team, we don't do handouts. You'll respect us, pay us when we got our hands out. Don't play with my money, shit ain't funny. Get to airing out, I spray them down.